Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to another edition of This Week in Karting here on the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden, joined as always by David Cole. This is episode number 25. And believe it or not, I know it's through the COVID-19 pandemic shutdown. It seems like this is just the most longest month of March in the world. It's actually June the 30th. We are at the halfway point of the 2020 calendar. And we are set to provide you with another update of all the news that has worked its way onto the EKN homepage over the last couple of weeks. And again, crazy to think that we're halfway through the year, really. As we all know, most of the clubs just really starting to get rolling here over the last month or so. Regional series starting to come online as well. We saw the SuperKarts USA Pro Kart Challenge get rolling. The California Rock Championship, most recently the F-Series getting rolling as well, the WK Manufacturers Cup having their event in Charlotte. So we're really just getting things underway. But again, lots to talk about here today as myself and David join you. Today, though, this podcast presented by Leading Edge Motorsports. Of course, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of countless drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Most recently, Greg and his Leading Edge Motorsports staff guided Danny Formal to victories at both the Rock the Rio and SuperKarts USA Super Nationals in Las Vegas in November of 2019. Leading Edge is the West Coast dealer and factory team for IP Karting, which manufactures the ultra-competitive Praga and Formula K chassis brands. Visit leadingedgemotorsports.com to find more info or find them on Facebook and Instagram. So, David, last show, episode 25, about 2 weeks ago, June the 15th was our last show. Of course, let's just jump in right now, I guess, with talking about the coronavirus update. Hopefully this will be a topic that one day we won't have to talk about, but it still is right now. It's been 15 weeks since racing was shut down back on March the 13th. But I think everybody, a little bit of a collective sigh within the industry and the community that we're finally starting to get racing again.
Yeah, it's just more of an updates more than what we were doing, again, 13 weeks ago, where we were talking about how everything was shut down and nothing was happening. And now we're at that point where, as you said just previously, all these different programs are back trackside. A number of the kart clubs and kart tracks are opening or have opened. Lots going on in terms of the karting industry. Racing in Europe now is getting back as the WSK is in action this week. So international racing is back. Again, I think what it boils down to right now is, and we're seeing that really in the last couple of days is traveling and just and restaurants. Really, those are the kind of the two biggest issues as of right now. I know here in the state of Michigan, we're really worried about more restaurants than anything, because that's where we're starting to see a number of cases pop up is due to restaurants. So we understand that the indoor side of things is bad. But, a great thing for our sport is we're outdoors, we're outside, we're minding the social distancing guidelines, keeping our space from one another. And really, it just boils down to travel. We're seeing, the travel ban is still in place between Canada and the United States. So we're waiting to see when that's going to open up and what unfolds from there.
Yeah, interesting. In Canada, I know one of the things, we really haven't opened any of our restaurants up, but all the restaurants have been allowed to kind of take up more space outside. It's all patio time, and it's obviously good. We're in the middle of summer right now, so almost every restaurant you see, at least in my hometown here, it's this huge patio that's been opened up, more than they would be normally allowed by city guidelines. So we're having restaurants open, but it is outdoors, like you said, and that way everybody's kind of not confined. You're not getting the spread in terms of coughing, breathing, whatever it may be. You're right. When it comes to our sport, being outside as we are, very similar to golfing or whatever it may be, it's pretty easy to social distance. I actually raced this past weekend at the Hamilton Kart Club at the Canadian Mini Indy track up near my hometown here in Cambridge. And it was cool to see, essentially the mandate was everybody had to have their mask on the entire time. I think people were probably pulling it down a little bit while they were walking by themselves, kind of a thing, or in their own pit. I know that because things have been going so good in Ontario, this coming weekend, I'm going to race again on Sunday. They're allowing another person to come. Normally it was just one person. So now 2 people per driver are able to come to the track, and you're allowed to have your mask off in your own paddock, in your own pit area, which is, I think, a good thing. And that's kind of where we're going. Now, David, obviously, so many cities, whatever, opening up around Canada and the US, we're seeing in some places some pretty alarming, uprising in terms of new cases. Now, overall, and what I've seen in going online to some media sources, over the daily deaths right now to the COVID-19 are at an all-time low, which is exciting, which is a good thing to see. And it's, how you say exciting when you talk about death, I guess that's tough to say. That's a positive. And I know one of the issues, I believe I saw, and I don't have confirmation, but I'm pretty sure that I think that North Texas Carter's group at Denton actually elected to cancel the race coming up because of the increases in Texas, that they weren't able to kind of do what they want within their area, which is tough to see. And I think that, again, speaks volumes to all of us in the karting industry doing our part in terms of wearing the mask, keeping that social distancing up, because we're still not out of the woods. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of situations. Yeah, they did cancel their June 27th race. I'm not sure why. Okay. I'm just, due to the COVID-19. So, according to governor's order. So again, we're talking about different areas, because different states and different cities all took different approaches to the COVID-19 at the early stages. So, it's a matter of, okay, well, is there something else going on, or was it just the fact that they opened up too early and masks weren't utilized enough for people in certain areas? So that, there's a lot of different factors. There's nothing that we can pinpoint on everything. I think the fact is, like you just said, use the mask when you need to, when you're around people, to help limit things and keep the social distancing. And that's the biggest. They're just simple little things that will help in the long run. And as I was talking earlier, some of these indoor gatherings is what hurting areas in our city right now. That's where we're getting our cases from. It's getting back to where these restaurants are opening the capacity more than the 50% that they're supposed to, or just the fact that they're not reporting the number of cases, that the number of people who are getting it from their restaurant or workers, or it's just kind of there's nothing we can really pinpoint all of this on. It's just again, we just have to mind our own situations and again, use social distancing and use a mask.
So one of the things we've done, David, over the initial episodes of This Week in Karting here, since this whole thing hit, was kind of update everybody on the status of series, tracks, clubs, whatever it may be. A lot of there have been races that have been canceled, races that have been postponed, rescheduled. We know that the Quincy Grand Prix, which is scheduled to run mid-June, got moved now into the second week of October. We saw the U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals that was set to run, and it's a national race as a Grand National, but international tickets being given out. We'll talk about that later. That gets moved. We did get a race, David, that actually has been canceled, which is a shame because it's the first time this race will not have been run for a number of years. We did get the official cancellation for the Rock Island Grand Prix in 2020.
Yeah, it was something we've kind of talked off the air and about, wondering, what's going to unfold with this event, because first off, it's a spectator event. It welcomes people from all over the Quad Cities area into Rock Island. And so it's a spectator event, and that automatically, you're throwing a flag up for that. You're like, okay, what are we going to do about spectators? And because there's no guidelines right now in terms of the state of Illinois regarding spectators and events and large gatherings such as that, and we're only 2 months away from the event itself. It's hard to plan for something like that without knowing what exactly the guidelines are going to be. And so I think it's kind of the right move. It's something we saw with the Can-Am 4-cycle event. The borders closed. Well, we can't have the event because we're counting on a number of the U.S. drivers coming up into Canada to race. So it's just, we're going to have to postpone it to 2021. This is kind of in the same boat to where, they're not quite sure exactly what the status of the COVID-19 is going to be come Labor Day. And because the event is planned over 12 months, not just overnight, it's not like we're going to a racetrack and going to just race right away. This is something where they build a racetrack within 6 hours. They run 2 days of on-track activities, and they completely tear down the racetrack 6 hours after that. So there's a lot of moving parts with the Rock Island Grand Prix. So it was kind of perceived to be, this was going to be one of those events that was going to get hacked for the 2020 season.
Yeah, and it's a possibility. Like you said, it's not just a, hey, you know what, guys, we're going to open the racetrack this Saturday, come out and race, and you're going to get 80 or 90 or 100 people. This, like you said, is a year-long commitment of committees and putting things together. And it's a big race within the city of Rock Island and throughout the Quad Cities, of course, the four cities that border on the Mississippi River there, and always an annual event. David, one thing that you said there kind of caught me off guard, and it's just, because of the way we've been locked down so long, it's only 2 months from Labor Day. And when you said that, I went, "What? We're getting ready to turn the over the calendar to July. We're literally 2 months away from that Labor Day weekend." And again, I'm sure that everybody at Rock Island and the whole event committee was trying to convince themselves or do what they thought would have been the right thing to be able to get this race to go. And I know there was a lot of, I'm not going to say negative feedback, but disappointment, let's say, in saying when they announced that the race was over. But you're right, Dave. We're just 2 months away. They had to pull the trigger and say yes or no.
Yeah, it got to the deadline essentially. I'm assuming they set July 1st as their deadline, and they decided to make the call a couple days earlier, depending on when they were meeting, and just to get the word out there. But it's an event that has a lot of moving parts. Just the track setup alone, you have probably anywhere between 30 to 50 to 60 people in putting that track together, in terms of high school students lining up the fences or all the different workers that are putting up the barriers. I mean, there's a number of people alone just in track setup that are susceptible. You'd have to follow social distancing guidelines. Well, what are those guidelines? As of right now, we know what they are, but we don't know what they're going to be 2 months from now. So you can't, and with an event like this, to where you have months of planning and all the different moving pieces, there's nothing we can't plan for what the world is going to be in 2 months, especially in the time that we're in right now.
And let's state this, David. They have said straight up that, this is going to give us essentially a year and 2 months now to focus on 2021. They're still very focused on making sure this race comes back bigger and better. Again, there's a lot of people that were super disappointed on social media that the race wasn't coming. That's always a good thing to see, that people are disappointed that the race actually isn't going to go on. But the focus is, of course, Rock Island now working with the NKA crew to help put the race on. So they're excited. I know that they're focused on 2021. That's a good thing. That'll give them a year or more to take what's going on, evolve the race, add more programs, and even have more time to make sure that when it does roll back out on Labor Day of 2021, that it's going to be one of the biggest races they've had.
And allows right now clubs to kind of either provide their members an option. Hey, do you want to race Labor Day weekend? We can do it this year.
Otherwise we wouldn't do it, right? Exactly.
Yeah, we saw USPKS. They put a race date on it, so we were going to kind of be split that weekend. Because Labor Day has typically been the Rock Island Grand Prix. I mean, I think it was 97. I think was the last year they didn't run because of legal situation in terms of what happened in a couple years before that event. But and then the first ever event was delayed because of a flood. The Mississippi River flooded, and the city wasn't exactly ready to host a race, so they had to postpone the actual inaugural event for the Rock Island Grand Prix.
Well, a bit of sadness for me to put it kind of a point at the end of this was the fact that I haven't been able to be the announcer. I've been at the race actually for the last number of years because of the evolution of the Road to Indy schedule that had me at different tracks, whether it was at Watkins Glen or now at Portland. Well, they moved the schedules around for IndyCar, so Portland moves off of Labor Day weekend. All of a sudden, I had the Labor Day weekend free. I was coming to the Rock Island Grand Prix this year. I was pumped. You were going to be at the USPKS race. I was going to be at Rock Island doing one of our double duty weekends. And now I don't get my chance, which is sad. We'll see how things shake down with the schedule, but I would assume that Portland will go back to Labor Day with IndyCar and Road to Indy. So I may have lost this little window to be able to rekindle a trip to Rock Island. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
Sorry. I thought you were wrapping it up, so I wasn't going to go on.
Well, I just went for. I was going to give you like a little comment that I was going to. I thought you would blab at me that I wasn't able to. I'm not able to go to Huckleberries.
This is what makes it hard doing audio because we can't see each other and see the transition.
See, you go to live video and that's it, David. You lose all your awareness. That's tough.
Totally. I wasn't losing my awareness. I was waiting for you to cut it to commercial because that's next on our script.
Well, let me do that right now. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in here. Lots more to come on this edition of This Week in Karting. Again, episode number 25. This edition brought to you by Leading Edge Motorsports. Stay with us. More to come after this break. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID genuine parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. This season marks the 20th anniversary of the U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals, as the single race national championship event returns over the September 18 to 20 weekend. The 2020 U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals will be run inside the Charlotte Motor Speedway on the newly repaved kart circuit. The track has held world and international events in the past, and the U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals is helping to usher in a new era to the facility. Drivers from all over the U.S. and the world are invited to compete in Concord, North Carolina for this year's Rotax Grand Nationals. Classes range from Senior Max to Masters Max to Junior, Mini, and Micro. A Briggs 206 Pro division has been included to welcome local and regional competitors to experience this historic event. Rotax racers will be competing for tickets to the Rotax Grand Finals, the Olympics of karting, which are now set for January of 2021 in Portimao, Portugal. Visit racerotax.com to learn more about the program and the race, and register today to take part in this historic event. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode 25 of This Week in Karting. Lots to talk about, all the news that made its way to the homepage of ekartingnews.com. Just a quick mention, of course, make sure you've downloaded the EKN Radio Network app. If you haven't done that, do that. That way you can have all our content, because you can see that we're doing a lot more stuff. We just talked about before the break that we've kind of moved to the Facebook Live, YouTube Live program. We've got our new face-to-face program. There's going to be a lot more stuff that we're going to be doing in the live realm right now. That's kind of been one of the positives with eKarting News through this entire shutdown, was we've had the opportunity to kind of move into some new technologies, and it's been a lot of fun and a lot of great feedback for all those face-to-face shows. The face-to-face shows that we do on Facebook Live then, of course, get uploaded to YouTube. We take the audio from those as well and put that on the EKN Radio Network. So I know that a lot of people consume our content in different places, whether it's now the live video stuff. Subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already, because there's going to be a lot more video content coming throughout 2020. And then, of course, into the future as well. We're going to really start working our way into that area. But if you're a podcast guy, if you're a radio network guy, don't worry. Everything's going to be there as well. We'll have some dedicated podcasts as well, too. So a lot more coming that way. All right, David, let's talk about in this particular section. What do we got? We've got a new date being set after kind of a postponement. We've got a new event being announced, and we've got a confirmation of a location for a race. Let's start things off with the 2020 U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals that are going to be held at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The race was originally set for this coming weekend, actually, July the 2nd to the 5th, with all the international travel that was needed because the race, not just a Grand National, but as I mentioned before, international tickets to the Rotax Grand Finals, which meant people from all over the world could come and run that race and try to secure one of those tickets, really the first tickets available to be able to secure a competition spot at the Grand Finals this year. That race, because of the international travel being held up coming into the U.S., good call for the guys from J3 competition. We talked to Justin Stefani about it. They elected to postpone that event, but they have locked in a new date.
Yeah, and the new date, we knew it was going to be September. We weren't quite sure what weekend they were going to select. Obviously, they're trying to work around other events that are going to be happening in the month. So a lot. Again, another moving parts and pieces going around with the COVID-19 schedule. Trying to figure out where to put the date, and they selected the September 18th through the 20th as the date for the 2020 U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals. Again, as you said, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We just saw the track in action for the first time this past weekend. The WK Manufacturers Cup held their second event of the 2020 calendar at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we got to see karts on the new repaved circuit of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And it looked like it was probably the early 90s or whenever the track was actually laid out, because it looked just the same, but super smooth. I mean, we just shared an onboard on Facebook. I mean, that track is super smooth. They're going to add some curbs to certain sections of the racetrack for probably the upcoming Manufacturers Cup race that'll be in July, and then the Rock Cup race later after that. But the Rotax racers are going to enjoy this facility in September.
Yeah, it looked really, really good. And of course, as you said, Rock Cup coming. So, so September the 18th to the 20th, that will be the running of the U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals. Should be a tremendous weekend. Of course, we'll be there with EKN Trackside Live as well, full coverage. We'll have more information on that coming down the pipe. Looking forward to that event. A new race being announced as well, David. I know that I've had a chance to be at Speed Sports Racing Park, Alan Rudolph's facility down in New Caney, Texas, just on the north side of Houston, on a couple of occasions with the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. Tremendous racetrack. Everybody there that loves it, they say it's an unbelievable driver challenge for sure. Not a lot of chance to breathe, but it's a great racetrack laid out by Alan Rudolph. And I know that he's been kind of trying to get a big event, obviously some regional races, but hoping to potentially get a Pro Tour race or whatever it may be coming down the line. I like this idea, though. Hey, you know what? Let's put a race on right now. People in Texas looking for a big event. They were going to have the Lockhart Grand Prix. That's been put on hold to 2021. So a new race. It's called the Supernat Shootout, created by the good folks at Speed Sports Racing Park, Alan Rudolph and his wife, Jess. October the 2nd to the 4th. Essentially, the event, they got a sponsor, Ferguson Track Center. They're working very closely with Superkarts USA on this as well. And David, a $30,000 purse for cash and prizes up for grabs. It's going to be a big IAME event.
Ferguson Truck Center. Sorry,
what did I say? Track Center.
You read it right. It just was written wrong. Truck Center. There we go.
And I was just reading what I wrote. What you wrote.
Well, it's good that you did that.
My fault.
Yeah, no, it was my fault. I'll take claim to that. But so a $30,000 purse, including $20,000 cash to all the podium finishers in each category. So that's going to be huge. So obviously the more numbers obviously guarantees the cash purse because a minimum entry is required for the payout. But I think one of the cool things is the free entry to this obviously the Supernats, the Superkarts USA Super Nationals, and a guaranteed starting spot on Super Sunday for each of the winners. So big prize to be able to win, and really it's a really affordable entry fee with only $350 for the entire event, including a Friday practice. So anybody, and I've already heard teams from Indiana and Illinois are going to be heading down there for that weekend. So it should be a number of big teams that are not doing anything that weekend are going to be there. We'll probably see like teams like Rawlison Performance Group maybe there. Yeah. I've heard Hardin Motorsports Group is going to be there for sure. but I'm sure teams from Colorado coming down, Utah. So it should pull in a good amount of entries for the event.
Well, here's one thing I'll throw out there, and obviously, Alan's working very closely with SuperKarts USA to have that guaranteed Super Sunday starting spot. You think about winning that spot to potentially go for, let's say, the X30 Senior class or X30 Junior, to be able to make sure you're in the main. That's big. Cash prize is awesome. And here's, if you haven't been there before, this is one thing I think would be cool, and this is the way I would approach it if I was a team owner or as a driver. When you go to the Supernats, it's always a brand new track, right? You never know. That track's been similar the last couple of years, but you're rolling out onto a new track. If this were me, I would go down to this race, this Supernat shootout, and I wouldn't go for 4 days of testing beforehand. I'd go down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How fast can I pick up the racetrack? Because there's the training for the Supernats as well. Brand new track, pick it up, get fast, and be ready to go by Sunday. For me, that's one of the big things. Overall, though, that's going to be a big weekend for karting in terms of 4-cycle and 2-cycle racing, because that weekend is the same weekend as the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals at Newcastle Motorsports Park. We're going to have over 300 Briggs drivers running there. And then you've got essentially what would be the draw for every IAME driver who's planning on going to the Supernats, in 2020, a month and a half later in November. I think it's going to be a massive event for drivers in the IAME program, because we're going to have 2-cycle IAME and Briggs 206. That's going to be a big event for racing, I think, in the U.S.
Well, it's the only reason we're not going is because we're going to be in Indiana. Otherwise you'd be there announcing. I'd probably be there covering the event. So yeah, it sucks because obviously the scheduling for 2020 is a little bit lopsided this year, but we'll see how this event unfolds for the future.
We'll try to convince Alan to move it to the second weekend of October next year. All right, to cap off this section of This Week in Karting, we actually had Greg Jasperson from Cup Karts North America come on our face-to-face show back in June 17th, a couple of weeks ago, David. And as we were getting ready to go, he did say he had some breaking news that he was going to drop on the show, which we thought was great, right? Let's leverage the show to drop some news. And really the news that he dropped was they weren't quite sure where they were going to go for their third race of the Champions Cup, which is the regional series that is under the Cup Karts North America banner. And he kind of laid it out to us that they were going to go to Michiana Raceway Park, MRP, just near South Bend on the July the 24th to the 26th weekend. So that was cool for him to tell us about that. And again, it's tough for them right now with Greg and Steve Vermeer, because there's a lot of excitement for that series. There's so many tracks in the area, Dave, that would love to have a Cup Karts North American event. I would think that in years come, it's going to be kind of moving around to try to take care of other racetracks. But cool to see them go back to MRP. That's a great 4-cycle track.
Yeah, and what it basically boiled down to is where he could actually go. They were originally scheduled, I think, for 2 facilities in the Illinois area, and were not able to do that because of the COVID-19 guidelines that were instituted for Illinois. So he had to go somewhere else. And luckily, Indiana's kind of been a little bit more open and available for racing. And so Michiana Raceway Park was there, and he was able to work out a deal with Gary Lobaugh to take the event there on July 24th through the 26th. Obviously, they're going to be back in action this weekend, the second event of the 2020 calendar, as they head to the Champions Cup, heads to Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. It'll be a new layout number 47. So think about Newcastle, tons of different layouts. They created another one. Yeah. And so it's kind of including part of the Ironman course, and obviously part of the original course. So a little bit of the Grand Nationals course and a little bit of the Ironman course. So it's got a little bit of everything. It's a longer racetrack, so they obviously had to move their daily schedule around. They actually removed Senior Open class from the weekend. They had no pre-entries in, and so they decided to drop the class entirely for the weekend to help increase the track time for all the other categories. So each class will probably get 1 or 2 extra laps per race in order to help fill that void that Senior Open it leaves. So let's talk about that, David, because that's
That's a big move. Not that much big move. That's a major shift because we've seen and watched on social media and we've heard of the people that complaining about the open category and we want an open category. We want an open category. Well, if you don't show at a race, if you don't pre-enter, that class is going to go away. That's the bottom line. And for the fact that they had no pre-entries for this event, you got to think that this is eventually going to spell the end of Senior Open in this Champions Cup sooner or later.
Well, not according to that column I wrote 3 years ago when everybody was all about bodywork and they needed bodywork. But
Right.
no, he said that on the show. He said, if we don't have the pre-entries, we can't have the class. So he encouraged it, 2 weeks ago for people to get their entries in. And obviously nobody did. So that's part of the problem. Obviously, we still have the junior category and sportsman categories with bodywork, kind of open bodywork. But I think for senior racing, everybody's kind of moved and shifted over to the CIK style. All the carts come with it. If your cart doesn't come with it, you can put it on. And I think that's kind of what we've moved over to. And a number of the open drivers have moved over, but there's still those that are still holding on. And they just didn't enter. So that's kind of part of the problem. We'll see what happens for the Grand Nationals. Obviously, the class isn't going away because they'll obviously host it at MRP if people do enter. But it is removed for this weekend. So we'll see how that unfolds. But they're still holding on.
Again, we'll see. We've always said, you speak with your dollars, folks. If you don't enter, there's not going to be a class. All right, so let's jump into another quick break here. A bunch to talk about on the other side of this, and we're going to talk a little bit about Rock Cup. We're going to talk about one of our partners, Nitro Kart. There's actually another industry piece that we're going to come out with as well. Actually, a couple industry pieces, more industry focused in this next section, folks. You're listening to This Week in Karting here on the EKN Radio Network. Stay with us. More to come after this break. The 2020 season is like no other, and amidst all the chaos and rescheduling, SuperKarts USA is set to bring the karting community an unforgettable event. With the forced cancellation of the Winter Nationals and the Summer Nationals, the 2020 SCUSA Pro Tour will be completed in a double weekend summer festival format at Newcastle Motorsports Park in August. The first 3 rounds of the SCUSA Pro Tour will take place on August 7 to 9, and rounds 4, 5, and 6 will be held the following weekend on August the 14th to 16th, all at the Newcastle, Indiana facility. Each weekend features a different track layout, and special events are being scheduled between the weekends for those camping and staying in the area. Registration is open for both weekends of the SCUSA Pro Tour Festival, and a full event schedule will be available on superkartsusa.com. Also coming down the pipe will be the opening of the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals 24 registration. Competitors need to mark down July 1st as the opening day to submit your bid to compete on Super Sunday in Las Vegas. From coast to coast, IAME has become the two-cycle engine of choice for American karting. The air-cooled 60cc Swift engine for micro and mini drivers provides the foundation for future, lifelong IAME drivers. The incredible IAME X30 power plant for junior, senior, and masters has provided stability in our sport since 2014, and it remains one of the most dependable packages today. In between is the KA100, perfect for club programs, and it's quickly becoming the most competitive division at the national level. IAME is the spec 2-cycle power plant for the SCUSA Winter Series and Pro Tour, as well as the Pro Kart Challenge, Los Angeles Karting Championship, KPX Karting Championships, and the International Kart Federation sanctioned programs throughout the western half of the U.S. Based in Temecula, California, IAME USA West is the official distribution center and provides dealers and customers with fast and friendly service for all your IAME products. For more information, head to IAMEUSAWest.com. IAME, the heart of kart. Welcome back to episode number 25 of This Week in Karting, today presented by Leading Edge Motorsports. the factory team and West Coast dealer for the Praga and Formula K chassis. Good to have, actually, we got Greg Bell coming on with us later on this week. We're going to have Greg chat with us on Face-to-Face on Thursday, so look for that coming down the pipe. David, I think one of the a couple of the core areas everybody was kind of not worried about, but we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen in terms of opening up. Obviously up in the Northeast with New York and New Jersey, and of course the Southwest as well with California. They held on for quite a while before they opened up. They've actually moved to mandated masks in California right now, which probably is a pretty good thing. They're continuing to try to keep the COVID-19 down. But racetracks have opened up. We, of course, saw Cal Speed Karting open up. There's Superkarts USA had their Pro Kart Challenge race as well at Willow Springs. Go further north into the state, and Rock Sonoma set to host their first race of 2020, actually this coming weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of the racetrack we were waiting to see when it was going to be opened. We saw Cal Speed Karting open up in Southern California. But we saw the Sonoma area of Northern California was really keeping everything locked down, which I think hopefully in the long run will be a good thing because we're depending on how everything unfolds with the COVID-19. But the racetrack is now finally opened. I believe there was some testing already this past weekend. Karts getting back on the racetrack at Sonoma Raceway, but the Rock Sonoma will actually host their first race of 2020. This weekend on July 4th, which will lead into their regular schedule. So everything will kind of get back to normal with one event per month. But their next event is on July 18th through 19th, which will also host the California Rock Championship event. So that'll be the second round for that series, which began a couple weekends ago in Phoenix. So good to see Sonoma getting back to providing some racing for Northern California.
Yeah, and David, a strong debut for the California Rock Championship as well. I think they had over 100 entries in Phoenix. Of course, the California Rock Championship focused on California, but with everything that was happening with the COVID-19 shutdown, they elected to have that race in Phoenix to allow all their teams to get back to the racetrack to get racing because PKRA had been open for some time. But over 100 karts, a really big jump for the California Rock Championship after Andy Saisman put that program together last year. So you got to expect going into kind of one of the hotbeds of rock racing in California, it's going to be a pretty solid turnout for that second round of the Rock Championship.
I think so. I think that event will probably see similar numbers because you'll have a number of the club racers along with the traveling racers as well. Yeah. So it should be a big event in July.
One of the things that's been really cool for one of our industry partners, Nitro Kart, David, is they've been putting on a summer camp for the last number of years where they've brought racers and their families out for this summer camp where the kids get a chance to really get to work very closely with the people from the team. Obviously, Nitro Kart and their lineup, their coaching lineup is multi-time champions, but they've been able to bring everybody out and really spend some focused time away from the actual race atmosphere, right? Just kind of a summer camp kind of deal. They're doing it again August the 1st and 2nd at Carolina Motorsports Park in Kershaw, South Carolina. Drivers of all ages. I think a lot of kids come and do it, but it doesn't matter. Drivers of all age can be part of it. But it's a really cool program that Nick Tucker and his staff put on.
Yeah, and the great thing I think about it, like you said, is one, the family aspect of it, because they invite the entire family to be part of it, because it's not just on track situations, it's also off the track stuff, and I think that's the great thing about it, because there's a lot of off track stuff that they cover to kind of not only help the kids or the driver, but also the parents to kind of understand what needs to be done, just with like pre-race planning and then setups and then tuning for the parents. So but it gets the kids involved in, okay, how do I work on a kart, just taking a tire, just taking tires on and off. Like that's just simple things that, sometimes, the kids need a little guidance on or changing a gear even. So just simple mechanics like that. But the really cool thing, another cool thing is the fitness and nutrition part that they have with Trey Shannon that comes in from Podium Fitness and comes in and kind of gives them, little simple pointers and techniques on how to keep themselves healthy, not only before a race, but during a race weekend as well.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and a great lineup with Nick Tucker, of course, Asher Rahero. You said Trey Shannon coming in, very cool. Being told, David, by the good folks at Nitro that they're having discounted rates available until July 10th. Is that correct?
Yeah, July 10th, discounted rate to sign up for the camp, and then after that, rates kind of go up. So now is the time to kind of set your slot in for the camp and get it booked up now for the August 1st through 2nd weekend.
One of the big talking points last year throughout the national season was the success of the Croc Promotion USA kart. A number of different drivers had a chance to be behind the wheel, whether it be Jake French, Billy Musgrave. You go back, to the time with AJ Myers as well, Andrew Bedozo, a number of drivers getting behind the wheel. Then, of course, a lot of drivers as well, like Chente Salas, and I'm trying to think, Calvin Ming,
John Crow.
John Crow, that's right. Connor Robles was on it as well. I said his dad's name, but Connor had some great runs. That Croc Promotion USA program essentially being shut down to a certain extent. I guess not to a certain, but getting shut down in Europe. Todd Ullman from Mad Old Nut Racing, who was the importer and distributor of the chassis here in the U.S., has actually made moves now to have its own brand, right? So it's going to be the AK USA is the new name. And David, the carts are already on the ground here now in the U.S. Again, the new program built by the same man, manufactured, designed by Armando Fellini. But AK USA signing their first dealer. The track cart was actually in action, I believe, this past weekend at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, Fisher Racing Engines has been signed on as the new first dealer for AK USA. So Fisher Racing Engines based out of Texas now with Brian Fisher, longtime racer and engine builder, adding chassis to his arsenal. So he's going to be able to kind of be a full service shop with not only the engine service that he provides, but also to sell and to race the AK USA kart, because Fisher is looking to get back into the seat a little bit more, because he sees that as an advantage as an engine builder to kind of know not only what his product is doing, but how it relates to certain chassis and setups, and so he's going to be racing a little bit more. Raced at the Mid-Ohio event this past, well, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. And race there, and is looking at more of a grassroots option along with road racing as well. So he's going to be out and about in 2020, racing and promoting the AK USA chassis.
So let's have a look at the brand lineup. They have 3 carts under the AK USA banner. The KZ USA 01, of course, that will be their shifter chassis. The KALO 01, which is essentially for that 100cc or Briggs 206 program. They have a KF chassis as well. They've also got mini and kid kart packages available. And I think one of the interesting things is, I assume it would be the kind of base for AK USA, David, but Mad Old Nut Racing actually opening a new shop essentially in downtown LA. They've been working hard. I think they poured the coat on the floor of the shop. They're going to work on this place. So there's going to be another full-service brick-and-mortar storefront kart shop in essentially downtown LA, which can only be good for the sport.
It'd be really good, and it's great to have that home base, I think, for obviously an importer such as AK USA to bring in the chassis, make sure everything has a home, and then again, he's already establishing a dealer network. So making the right moves to expand this new brand and new chassis line for the industry. And again, as you said, having a brick and mortar place for people to walk in and actually buy a cart and learn about karting is a great thing always for the sport.
Based on what we saw at of the Croc Promotion USA kart last year with the same designer and manufacturing, I got to expect that thing's going to be a pretty quick hot rod. We'll see how it happens when it starts hitting the track as we continue to get going here with the 2020 season. All right, David, let's cap off this section here. Another kind of a new program, and a really interesting one, I think, that's coming to the sport. It's not totally new. It's been going for a little while. Danny Formal, who, of course, ran with Leading Edge Motorsports. We talked about it in the promo at the start, winning the Rock, the Rio, and the SCUSA Super Nationals last year, and of course, the Rock Shifter class and the KZ category at the Super Nationals in Las Vegas. Danny's moved over to work with ANSA Motorsports. And for those of you in karting who may not know about ANSA Motorsports, they're an extremely successful sports car racing team. They've done well in IMSA racing in the LMP3 category. They've raced the Lamborghini. They've got a bunch of sports car programs, but they've added a karting program as well. Patrick Otto Madsen, who owns the company, is a big proponent for karting races himself. But this is kind of an interesting deal. They've like so many teams we see, of course, and we see some of them in the Road to Indy and other programs in the F4 and FRA program as well, like Crosslink competition. They have that program in karting as well, then can bring drivers out of karting, whatever it may be, up into sports car racing. ANSA Motorsports now has their ANSA karting program, where they actually have an arrive and drive program for people who want to try karting down at Homestead. But I think with Danny Formal in the position, they're really looking to go racing. This is going to be a kart racing team. They're using the Charles Leclerc chassis. But David, this team has all the tools they need to become one of the primary teams in national level karting.
Yeah, again, as you said, they're expanding. They've had that base in the Homestead, Miami area for providing karting programs there. But now, as you said, they've added Danny Formal, and now they're looking to go hit the big events and obviously with Formal at the helm, that certainly helps. But they're looking to expand. They're looking to add drivers to their program, looking to provide kart transportation as well too. They have a great transportation system set up to be able to haul a number of karts and have provide tent service as well at certain events. And they're really focused for the month of August. Obviously, things have been kind of hectic in the 2020 season, but we know the month of August is going to be big with racing. And the first event they're going to is the Rock Cup USA Rock Fest East on July 30th through the August 1st at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So ANSA is going to be there, and then they're going to load up and head west to Indiana for the Supercarts USA Pro Tour events, which will be August 6th through 9th. And August 13th through 16th at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So 3 straight weekends of racing available with ANSA Motorsports. Again, as you said, they have the Charles Leclerc kart, but they're also open to other brands as well. And as I said, kart transportation and tent services are available for drivers, mini to masters, tag, or shifter kart.
Yeah, they're open. They're a full service program, and of course that they're really focused on these 2 categories, as you said, the Rockfest event, and of course the SCUSA Summer Nationals. And again, more races coming. They'll do a lot of racing in Florida, but also big time focused on the Rock the Rio and SCUSA Super National events in Las Vegas in October and November. So yeah, good to see ANSA Motorsports on the scene, and it can only be good to be able to, especially for some of the drivers in karting who maybe have the mindset of trying to work their way up through the sports car ranks. These guys have a lineup of cars down in Florida to be able to drive. If you want to work your way through the sports car ranks, they got a lot of cars that you can get into and be able to kind of work your way up through the ranks. A number of karters have run for ANSA, David, in the LMP3 category. You think of like Zach Robichon and Dakota Dickerson and Kyle Kirkwood, Roman DeAngelis, guys that we've watched come through the karting ranks who have found success with ANSA Motorsports throughout their sports car exploits as well.
Yeah, we love the sports car stuff. It's great racing. It adds another element to your arsenal as a driver, certainly, because it's not exactly open wheel racing, but it's still very similar to that. And obviously with karting and road course racing, it kind of blends in well together.
All right, folks, one more break, and we'll wrap things up here on This Week in Karting. When we get back, we'll talk to you about what's going on eKarting News. We'll talk to you about the podcasts that are now available, what's coming up on the EKN Radio Network, and what David's dialed into play. And we'll also talk about what's coming up, because believe it or not, we're going to start doing some EKN trackside events. We're actually going to be live at a couple of races here in July and through to August, which is going to be crazy. And then, David, it feels like forever since we've done a debrief podcast. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to bringing the debriefs actually to the face-to-face program. It won't actually be face-to-face. It'll be our live debrief. We're going to bring drivers in who have had success on the weekends. It's going to be really cool when we do the debrief. But yeah, stay with us, folks. Just a little bit more to wrap up this edition of This Week in Karting.
Trader, Evans, Haddock, Pruitt, McMurray. Karting legends are created here at the Quincy Grand Prix. This is Randy Kugler, the voice of this iconic event. This year's Quincy Grand Prix was set for June, but the COVID-19 pandemic forced us to reschedule the race to October 10th and 11th. On that gorgeous fall weekend, for the 33rd time since 1970, competition karts will once again rip around the spectacular and beautiful 1.2-mile circuit set out inside the South Park of Quincy, Illinois. The 2020 edition of the Quincy Grand Prix marks the 50th anniversary of the first time karters raced around this historic venue. To celebrate the event, a $10,000 cash purse has been established for the 4 pro classes competing on the weekend. A total of 11 categories will be competing for the unique trophy given to all race winners, the Gussie, designed and named after the original race founder, Gus Trader. Registration is now open, so don't wait and enter now at QuincyGrandPrix.com and become legendary. We'll see you at the park.
You've heard and read about us. We are the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Our senior program is the best in the sport, and we have the SCUSA Pro Tour X30 Senior Championship to prove it. Our coaching staff includes 4-time SCUSA National Champion Ryan Norbert, 3-time SCUSA Supernats winner Bonner Moulton, SCUSA Pro Tour X30 Junior Champion, 2015 Rotax Grand Finals Vice Champion, and Junior Development Specialist Luke Selkin, and our hands-on owner, multi-time champion, and IKF Duffy winner Mike Rawlson. This isn't sideline coaching. We're on track, and we dogfight with you. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. You learn more and more with every single lap. Our seniors win races, like Hannah Greenmeyer at the SCUSA Winter Series opener in Florida. And they win because they've been trained, coached, and honed by our RPG staff. Hurricane Hannah is proof positive. If you're a mini driver ready to move up, or a junior driver who's done with running mid-pack, join the team that will develop your skills and take you to the podium. At the Rawlson Performance Group, we turn juniors into pros. In 2020, we'll be racing at the SCUSA Winter Series, Pro Tour and California Pro Kart Challenge, the Florida Winter Tour, and the United States Pro Kart Series, as well as the IKF Northwest region. If you want to fight for championships, or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. We're the Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. This Week in Karting, episode number 25, brought to you by Leading Edge Motorsports. David, again, no rest for us whatsoever throughout this entire COVID-19 shutdown. We have been hard at it, probably more than usual in terms of desk time, because normally we'd be doing some traveling. You've been putting out a lot of editorial. Let's talk about what we've been pushing out in terms of editorial, podcasts, what you got working on for the EKN Radio Network.
We got a number of different things that have been out over the last couple of weeks. Race reports, which has been great. That's kind of that was kind of the highlight of the last couple of weeks. The California Rock Championship at Phoenix Kart Racing Association. So we got a race report from that. And we also have a race report from the California Pro Kart Challenge, who had a double round weekend at Willow Springs. So both race reports up on the website. Number of different items that we've already talked about in terms of industry news and team news and other items to cover on the website as well. A number of podcasts have been put out. We had This Week in Karting from June 15th. That's available in podcast form. Also, the last 4 face-to-face programs that we've had with Buckeye Karting Challenge, Cal Speed Karting, Cup Karts North America, and Racing for Vets. All 4 episodes available in podcast form.
And remember, if you're a podcast listener, like so many people are, I know when I'm working out or going for a walk or a run, whatever, that's
you work out.
I work out. Wiggle. Yeah, I have to. Hashtag beat David Cole. Man, dude, listen, after the race I just did on the weekend, Friday I felt like I was absolutely useless in practice. But I went over a second quicker on Sunday and really start feeling good. I'm sure that Trey Shannon from Podium Fitness would tell us, all of us, that, man, there are different muscles that you use when you are racing karts. I feel better than I did yesterday. Let's put it that way. Yesterday I was pretty tight.
Do those muscles work the same in golf? Because I've been stretching those ones out a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw you. Congratulations on whatever round. What'd you say? What'd you shoot on Sunday while I was racing?
87.
87. Well, I was racing because I got to beat David Cole when we head to the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. Anyways, if you're a podcast listener, we are available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, other podcast outlets. So again, David cranking all our content out in the podcast form. I'll tell you, the ECAN Radio Network's been interesting, David. Obviously, we play a bunch of stuff, whether it's This Week in Karting. You've been grabbing some old tracks, ECAN Trackside Live broadcasts and what we call our rewind section. But you also dug into the archive and pulled out a couple of old Happy Hour with Howdens, our podcasts from back in the day. It's amazing that we were actually doing podcasts back then. That kind of blows me away a little bit.
Well, yeah, they're essentially older than all the junior and cadet drivers who are out there right now. So
they are.
Yeah, because we're talking 2005, 2006 are the three archive episodes I've done. We did the Stars finale from 2005 in Austin, Texas. We did the Saturday night from Super Karts USA Super Nationals in 2005 in Vegas, and then we just pulled out the KMI Kart Expo show. Where we did our ski awards from our old magazine, the Supercard Illustrated magazine. We used to do year-end awards, and we decided to tape and broadcast, or not broadcast, but just tape and promote or announce the winners for the 2005 season at the KMI show in February of 2006.
Yeah, we weren't back then. Just to let people know, we weren't going live. We didn't have the ECAN Radio Network. There wasn't live. There wasn't a way to go live.
That we knew of. No,
at least not that we knew of.
Nothing.
Nothing. Or not that we could afford.
Yeah, I was gonna say cost efficient. No, nothing that we could do. So basically, we recorded it, put it up on the website, and you had to click on it to listen to it, and that's how it was. And now, obviously, technology is a lot more further advanced, but it's cool to kind of go back and listen to it and hear how much we bantered back then. Even I was shocked to hear some of the things we said to each other, but it doesn't surprise me.
And we're still friends, which is amazing.
Well, in a loose term, yeah.
Air quotes. Friends.
Air quotes, yeah, friends.
Upcoming face-to-face shows, folks. I had mentioned earlier, we're going to have Greg Bell joining us, talk about how things are going with Leading Edge Motorsports. He's had a couple of races, got a bunch of great, very quick young drivers in the Mania Micro category. And Greg's actually working on an engine program as well for Leading Edge Motorsports, kind of a separate deal. We'll talk about that. We know that we're putting together a program with the guys from Race Rotax to talk to a couple of ex-Team USA members or former Team USA members to talk about their experiences at the Rotax Grand Finals. I also reached out to Chris Rossi from the KPX Karting Championship. We were going to have him on a show last week. We weren't able to put that together. I'll reach out to Chris again. I want to kind of get an update with what's on the schedule for KPX Karting. More shows coming on face-to-face. But David, let's be real. I can't believe this, but you're actually going to be at a racetrack covering an event pretty soon. We're just about 2.5 weeks away, July the 17th to the 19th. You'll finally be back on the road, Newcastle Motorsports Park, the opening round of the USPKS.
Well, unfortunately, you beat me to the racetrack already, racing-wise, and then you'll be at the IndyCar race here next weekend as well. So you'll beat me there as well. But I get to go to a kart race to cover one before you do, so that'll be nice. Sure. Getting back to the racetrack, it'll be probably week 346 since I've been there.
Feels like it.
It feels like it sometimes. But United States Pro Kart Series is back. They are set to host what was going to be their season finale, will now be their season opener at the Newcastle Motorsports Park on July 17th through 19th. So this one's been on the calendar since the start. It's just a little different now, being the season opener instead of the season finale. And we'll get the USPKS program started off right with possibly a record-breaking event. Last year, we had 181 entries last year. They're already close to the 160 mark. So we still have 2 weeks away. So a number of drivers are probably going to be sending in their entries for that. But could be a record-breaking weekend.
Indeed. 2 weeks after that, we'll be at the USAC Karting Battle at the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Dave and I are looking forward to getting back behind the wheel at that point as well. Hope you're going to join us at that event. But otherwise, folks, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of This Week in Karting. Once we do get back to the racetrack, look for our new face-to-face style EKN debrief, our event reviews. Those will be coming down the pipe as well. But we do want to thank you for joining us here on this edition of This Week in Karting. Big thank you to Leading Edge Motorsports for being our presenting sponsor. Folks, we appreciate you tuning into the EKN Radio Network. Remember, take care of each other, wear your mask, social distance. We're going to get back to 100% sooner or later. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care.